All right, we're going to start the Class B Michigan in-cab inspection. I'm going to start it with making sure that my seat belt is not ripped, frayed, or torn, that it latches and unlatches. I'm going to make sure that I have my spare fuses in my glove box. My ABC rated fire extinguisher is not bent, broken, or cracked, securely mounted. It is in green with a pin in place. I will check to make sure I have my 3 in color red safety triangles. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They're securely mounted. I'll check my city horn, my highway horn. Everything is working correctly. Now I will check my mirrors. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They're securely mounted. They're clean and clear, no illegal stickers, and they are adjusted for me. Next, I will do a safe start. When doing a safe start, I will make sure that my ABS light goes on and goes off to make sure that my ABS system is working correctly, which it did. Now I check my window. It is not bent, broken, or cracked. It is securely mounted. I'll check the sill around the window. It's not frayed or rotten or torn. It is not leaking. Good working order. Now I would check my wiper blades and my wiper arms. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They are securely mounted. They are flush to the window, and my solvent is working and not leaving any streaks. So my blades are in good working order. Next, I will check my light indicators to make sure that they are working correctly. My left turning signal indicator is working. My right indicator turning signal is working. My high beam indicator is working. And my 4-way flasher indicators are working correctly. From there, I will check my gauges. My oil pressure gauge is rising in operating range. My water coolant is rising in operating range. My voltmeter is working correctly, rising in operating range between 12 and 14 volts. My tachometer and speedometer are working correctly in operating range. My fuel gauge is working in operating range, and I have enough fuel to make it through the day. My primary and secondary air tanks are rising in operating range, and pressure has been built between 120 and 140 at the governor cutout. Next, I will check my heater and defrost. My defrost is blowing, and my heater well is blowing. They're working correctly. From there, we will do a tug test on the parking brake to make sure that it is holding. Put the vehicle in drive, give it a little gas with this engaged to make sure that the truck doesn't move. That was a success. The truck did not move. My service brake is working, or my parking brake is working correctly. Now I will check my service brake to make sure that it stops the vehicle and it is working correctly. I will pull ahead at 5 miles an hour and press on the service brake to make sure the truck stops. And when you're doing so, you're also going to make sure that your steering wheel doesn't pull to the left or the right. If it does, then you probably have a suspension or brake issue. Release your brake, truck in gear. The steering wheel did not jerk to the left or the right, and the truck stopped, so the service brake is working correctly, and I don't seem to have a brake or suspension issue. Next, I will build my air pressure back up to 120 to 140 at the governor cutout so I can do my leak down test. It is very important that you state you are doing your leak down test with your air pressure built up between 120 and 140 at the governor cutout before you do so, or it's an automatic failure in Michigan. My governor kickoff just went off, so I know my tanks are both filled between 120 and 140 at the governor kickoff. I will now do my leak down test. To do so, I will shut my truck off, turn the key back on, release the parking brake. Let the air stabilize in your tanks. If I wasn't on level ground, I would get out and chock the wheels, but I do not need to because I'm on level ground. Now that my air pressure has stabilized and my tanks were built between 120 and 140 at the governor shutoff, I will now start my leak down test by holding my foot on the service brake for 1 minute to make sure I do not lose 3 psi in the 1 minute. Okay, we'll speed forward. I did not lose psi in 1 minute. Now I will continue to fan my brakes down to make sure that my warning lights and buzzards come on before 55 psi. The alarm will not go off in this truck, but the light indicators will. My warning lights for low air pressure came on before 55 psi. I will now fan my brakes down to make sure that my parking brake pops out around 40 psi. Now we're watching this to make sure this pops out. That just popped out. I know my air brake system is working correctly, and that completes my in-cab inspection.